In 1889, on the 20th of April, Clara Hitler, wife of a petty civil servant, Alois Hitler, gave birth to her fourth child, Adolf. Her previous 3 children had all died in childhood, and Clara Hitler longed for this child to survive and grow to manhood. Clara was a soft-spoken woman, 23 years younger than her husband, who was also her cousin through adoption. She was delighted with her child and had a warm and intimate relationship with Adolf until her death from cancer in 1907. Adolf Hitler was a healthy and single-minded child. Alois, his father, believed that a good education and a career in the civil service would provide a stable and secure life for his son. Adolf, however, had other ideas. It was the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. Darwin and other leaders of intellectual thought had dealt a severe blow to the traditions and beliefs of Western society and its institutions. Adolf Hitler rejected the traditional, the petty bourgeoisie, the way of the past. He wanted to be an artist, someone who could express his ideas and thoughts in a form that could be shared by others. The 20th century would be different. The next 1,000 years would be different. Adolf Hitler, the child, was certain of that. The death of Hitler's mother was the death and loss of the only person with whom he appeared to have a devoted and loving relationship. He was now free to wander the back streets of Vienna in search of his fate. Adolf Hitler had dodged the draft for the Austrian army when he lived in Munich in 1913. But in 1914, when Germany declared war on Russia for its provocation of Austria, Hitler immediately enlisted in the Bavarian army. I fell on my knees and thanked God with an overflowing heart for granting me the good fortune of being allowed to live at this time, he later wrote. The King of Bavaria accepted Adolf Hitler's offer to volunteer, and he was assigned to the 16th Bavarian Reserve Regiment. In the fall of 1914, Adolf Hitler had marched into battle. Beside him were boys of 17 and 18. By 1918, those who were not dead were men. The First World War ended when Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. Hitler would later use this remarkable outcome to a war that had been fought for 4 years without any significant gain or loss of territory by the adversaries as a proof of his claim that the Jews and the Bolsheviks were behind the anti-war movement that spawned the Great Armament Strike of 1918. It was the armament strike that left the German army virtually without arms or ammunition at the front line.
Germany, Hitler said, had been stabbed in the back by the Jewish traitors, the pacifists, who were no longer benefiting from the war and wanted only to continue to make money, whatever the price already paid in blood by their countrymen.
The graves of the dead will open and send the silent mud and blood-covered heroes back as spirits of vengeance to this fatherland that has cheated them with a mockery of the greatest sacrifice a man can make for his countrymen. Was this what the boys of 17 sank into the earth of Flanders for? What the mothers gave up their sons for? For those wretched criminals to lay their hands on the fatherland. Curse them 1,000 times. curse them forever and ever. I often go, on bitter nights, to Wotan's oak in the quiet glades, with dark powers to weave a union. I was in the trench, eating my dinner beside my comrades. Suddenly, a voice seemed to be saying to me, "Get up and go over there." It was so clear and insistent that I obeyed mechanically, as if it had been a military order. I rose at once and walked some 20 yards along the trench and sat down to eat again. Hardly had I done so when a flash and a deafening report came from where I had just been. Every member of the group sitting there was killed.
When the Treaty of Versailles was signed, it demanded that Germany alone pay for the war costs of all its former adversaries. This amounted to billions and billions of dollars. To pay this back would mean no money to rebuild Germany. This is most probably what the Allies had in mind. Hitler had marched on the Bavarian capital of Munich with General Ludendorff at his side in 1923. He was arrested and brought to court. He argued at his trial that the Weimar Republic was too weak to throw off the Versailles dictates. Many people in Germany listened to him. The world listened to him. Hitler believed in a collective destiny. The individual was not important. What the individual stood for, struggled for, died for, that was what was important.
Death was only a change of players to Hitler. The purpose and value of life was what the individual could contribute to his society and community. And this contribution was one part of a great collective effort, the effort of the folk.
One of the first things Hitler did when he came to power was to stop these repayments. He began to rebuild Germany. He set up a 5-year economic plan, and we worked to make it happen. We wanted to create a strong economy, a better life for everyone.
Above all, we are appealing to the mighty army of our German youth. They are growing up at a great turning point, and the evils brought about by the inertia and indifference of their fathers will force them into a struggle. Someday, the German youth will either be the builder of a new folkish state, or they will be the last witnesses of total collapse, the end of the bourgeois world.
Hitler rose to power on a wave of nationalism and socialism. The Nazi Party stood for the workers and the common people. One consequence of Europe's liberal educational policies of the 19th century and the emancipation of the working classes was a higher level of education for all. Education gave the working classes an understanding of the systems that they were a part of, and an insight that often led to the realization that they were being exploited by the upper classes and the industrialists. Socialism and the Workers' Party meant an awful lot to the average German, the German who voted for and supported Hitler's rise to power.
All things will pass away. Nothing will remain but death and the glory of deeds.